Hey Indian Hills, this is Mrs. Sandersfeld-Miller, your teacher librarian here with some new books I'm getting ready to put out on the bookshelves. So we'll start off with a nonfiction book. We have the Guinness World Records Gamers Edition. So just lots of really good, fun, colorful pictures and short little blobs of text there. So that would be a great one to look through during study hall. And then we're going to move on to graphic novels. So the first one we have is Weirdo. This one is a very colorful type of art graphic novel, and it's about a boy who loves comic books and anime and video games, but all of a sudden he gets to school and kids at school start making fun of him, and so he's dealing with some bullying and how to be proud of who he is and to accept himself for who he is and to like himself. Gamerville is another very colorful, fun art type of book. It's about a kid who has finally qualified for the Gamerville tournament, and he's so excited. He's waiting to dominate. He's really good at this one video game that he wants to compete in, and then his parents send him off to summer camp, and it's a tech-free summer camp. So he's a little bit frustrated with his parents and has to deal with being at summer camp when he wants to play video games instead. All right, the next two, Fake Chinese Sounds. This one is about a Taiwanese American girl, and she is taking Chinese lessons. Her grandmother comes to visit her in the United States, but her grandmother doesn't speak English, so she tries to bond with her grandmother through cooking. And then when she starts back at school again, some boys are making fun of her and bullying her because of her race. And so she's dealing with trying to, get to know her grandmother a little bit more and the language barrier and standing up for herself and being proud of who she is and being proud of her heritage. Uprooted is another graphic novel. It's about a girl who was born in Canada and raised in Canada, and then all of a sudden her parents decide they want to go back to Hong Kong. And so she's a little bit nervous and going to be a little bit like a fish out of water when she moves. Dear Dad is the next one. This one is another very colorful one. This one is based on a true story. The author grew up with her dad being in jail, and so she communicated with him through letters. They sent letters back and forth. She only got to visit him a couple of times. So she didn't really get to see her dad growing up and just communicated through the letters. And then eventually her dad did get out of jail, and there's some information in the back about, her real life and real pictures and things from her real life and her real dad and how they formed a relationship once he got out of jail. And then The Ghost Keeper, just a good, creepy, fun ghost mystery story. Lots of good, fun, colorful art. Another good graphic novel. Next up, we have some yellow sticker books. So you can see on the top row here, we have Firebreak. This one is about wildfires and environmentalism and kind of standing up for what you think is right. The next one is called Freebird. Let's see here, Freebird Caged. There we go, Freebird Caged. And it's about a girl who is a teen and finds out that she is pregnant. So she has to try and figure out what she's gonna do about that. And then Locked In, just a good creepy mystery type of book. So remember the quick picks. There are shorter chapters. The books themselves are nice and short as well. And then I have a whole bunch from the To Scare Your Socks Off series. So we have zombie stories, paranormal, monster, ghost, apocalypse, cryptid, sorcery, and vampire stories. So these are all very short little books. And then these are all books that have short stories in them. So each chapter is its own short story. And last, we have some books that are fiction books, regular chapter books. So Ruin Road, it is about a boy who is a big kid. He's a black kid. He is really good at football, but everybody at his school thinks that he's from the wrong side of the tracks. He's from the wrong part of town. And everybody just always acts really scared around him. So there's some weird thing that happens. He ends up in a pawn shop one night and tells somebody that he wishes people weren't so afraid around him all the time. And then all of a sudden he starts to realize that his wish was somehow granted. So people suddenly are not afraid when they're around him, which if you think about it, sometimes fear is good. Sometimes being afraid of things, like being afraid of heights, keeps you from jumping off the top of a building. So strange things start happening and he realizes he has to get this curse reversed. Wild Wave is about two kids who experience an earthquake and then a tsunami wave, giant tsunami wave, hits their town after the earthquake. So adventure survival. Not Nothing is about a boy who does something awful, gets in trouble, and the judge sentences him to spend a summer at a retirement village, volunteering and helping people out there. And he meets a guy who survived the Holocaust, and the guy starts to tell him his story. And so it's the book about them bonding over this story, and the boy kind of figuring out that he maybe needs to do something to make right what it was that he did wrong. Project Mercury is about two kids whose parents are in the Army, and they have both just gotten relocated to the middle of the desert in New Mexico, near Roswell, kind of Area 51 area, and their parents are working on some top secret project called Project Mercury. They think it has something to do with aliens, but they also are worried that their parents might be in danger working on this top secret project. Westfallen is about a group of kids who used to be best friends, but now they've kind of drifted apart, and they're having a funeral for a pet gerbil. And so as they're digging in the backyard, they discover a really old radio, and they realize this radio allows them to talk to kids in their own town from the 1940s during World War II. And so crazy things happen. They start to realize that they're changing the course of history, and they have to get things fixed and put things back in order through talking through this radio to these kids in the 1940s. The Secret Dead Club is about a girl who can talk to dead people. Signed, Sealed, Dead, murder mystery, good creepy book. Nightmare in the Backyard. This one is the same author who wrote It Watches in the Dark. This is not a sequel, it's just the same author. It says it's a standalone novel, but another good creepy crawly one. Splinter and Ash, a fantasy one about a princess and a regular person from the kingdom, and they discover a plot that somebody's trying to overthrow the queen, and so they try and foil this plot to save the queen. The Rule of Three is about a boy who is biracial, and he plays baseball, and he has a 3-part plan to get himself into the major leagues. And so it's about him and baseball and trying to get to the major leagues. And then we have a couple of books about girls and soccer. So Grow Up is about a girl who is having friend issues while being on the soccer team, and just kind of middle school girl drama and troubles. The Beautiful Game is about a girl who is the only girl on an elite boys soccer team, and her goal is to make the Olympics. So she's hoping to get into an Olympic development program. Near Misses and Cowboy Kisses, a fun romantic comedy type of book. And then over here we have a couple of sequels. So we have Shot Clock, and then Clutch Time is book 2 in that. So a book about a kid playing basketball on an AAU team. And then we have Kwame Alexander's Black Star. This one is the sequel to The Door of No Return. And then remember, Kwame Alexander, he's the guy that writes in poetry. He writes in verse. So it looks like it's a little bit bigger of a book, but it's a pretty short read. And then Rebel is the sequel to Reboot. So she says, I was dead for 178 minutes. I'm not ready to die again. So if any of these look good for you, they are about to go out on the new bookshelf. Go ahead and come check them out, or hop on your library Canvas page to put them on hold.